You know, I was really surprised in positive meaning of course, looking at the effects achieved after first episode and the general appearance of this kit. And it's funny, but I forgot that in my collection I have one more technical completely resin, which is one of the series that Mick released on the market several years ago. Back then no one thought about making this vehicle out of plastic, and now we have two and two more are announced. For a moment I thought of making two vehicles on one stand, but I quickly changed my idea. Working on resin parts is not such a quick task as cutting parts from the sprue, so for now it will wait in the box for its turn. Following the suggestions of my friend, I decided to paint one rim white. It will be a good color variety, although here it's still colorful. By the way, pay attention to how cool the inscriptions on the tires are. A little bit of silver for the screws, a hole for wooden stick, and we can start the wash. If someone would like to ask if there is a glossy or satin varnish on the model, my answer is there is no satin or glossy varnish on the model. I decided to apply wash directly on the paint. This is due to the fact that the model has well-made details and the wash should fit perfectly even in the absence of colorless varnish. You can check how it actually happened. For me it was a quick job, the effect is exactly what I wanted, and there is no need to talk too much. The next stage of weathering is the base for pigments called general dustiness. I paint it normally with buff paint, which I dilute in normal ratio to the consistency of the milk. By the way, I don't know why this is compared to milk, but probably everyone knows what I'm talking about. The assumption is that the vehicle is used rather in desert terrain, therefore the dust will be certainly visible and exposed. It's important to reach all nooks and crannies, so I paint the model in different positions. By mistake I pressed the wrong button on the camera and I didn't record how I paint the upper surfaces of the model. But look at the places I'm pointing with hobby knife. Everywhere in the depressions and on flat surfaces such as the wheel arch, I delicately painted the dust, which becomes even more emphasized and diversified by applying pigments. Even on the seats a bit of dust will not be a mistake, especially since the vehicle is completely uncovered, so it's perfectly justified. In fact, after driving a few kilometers of sandy road, the dust would be totally everywhere, so I treated the model gently without applying paint all over the place. Well, it would be pointless, and from a modeling point of view it wouldn't look good. Several times I saw realistically dusty models, and apart from the first impression that the author made a real representation of reality, the rest wasn't so positive. It just wasn't looking good. One rule still works well: better less than more. The best way to get a good dry mat on a vehicle like this Toyota is to look underneath your own car. Of course, you have to take into account the fact that it's an off-road vehicle and doesn't ride too often on highways, so a good balance in building the effect is very recommended. To get the effect like here, all you need is pigment and any fixer. In this case it's the Tamiya thinner, and that's the way to do it. More on the wheel arches, less on the rest of the vehicle. And of course don't forget to use accelerator. Unfixed pigment will be recommended to visit your workshop and the rest will sit quite firmly on the surface of the model. In addition, it's better not to leave the thinner on the paint for too long because it may damage it, which is the last thing we would like at this point. The pigmented dust must be applied to the remaining uncoated surfaces and nooks and crannies. You can also add some spills and stains, which I will prepare in a moment. Of course, the wheels get dirty as well as the rest of the vehicle. For now, I'm not wiping the surface that touches the asphalt because I don't know yet how the stand for the model will look like. The pigment stays on the wheels without the use of the fixer. I also apply small amounts inside the vehicle. Every car gets dirty and it's clear, especially for the parents who ride with their children. And in the case of such technical, dirt and dust are natural elements of the equipment. Well, because somehow I find it hard to believe that its driver regularly cleans it and keeps the interior of the vehicle in good condition. Of course, the pigment is also soaked here with thinner, fixer, whatever. Now I can finally glue the wheels. On the one hand, CA glue would do the job in a second, but on the other hand, the standard plastic glue gives you the ability to fine-tune the wheel alignment, so in my opinion, if you have any doubts and they are not resin wheels, I suggest using normal glue. Without a doubt, the machine gun adds some character to this car. AK made an effort and the replica of this weapon looks decent. I could replace a few elements with metal ones because I have a set from RB model, but I forgot about it and just after building I found a string bag with the parts. Never mind. As I said, it doesn't mean the plastic is weak. Weathering on the gun is just as important as on the rest of the vehicle. The weakest option would be to leave this element in a perfect finish with a beautiful metallic sheen. The through is completely different and this is confirmed by the photos and my own experience with the gun. So don't be afraid and make some dust on the gun. As always, you can also use the accelerator to speed up the drying process. Talking about the rust, here I wouldn't be as generous as with dust. A little here and there. I used weathering paint for this, but you can also paint it with oil paints or whatever you use for this effect. And of course a metallic sheen made with a soft pencil and a silicone tip. Finally, a bit of pigment to unify the weapon with the vehicle, but also to add some real dust. If you will ask if it's worth having fun with this element, I can say that it's worth trying, and I sincerely recommend you to try if you haven't done it before and you want your model to look interesting. The vehicle dirty continues. I made stains and oil spills with undiluted wash. At the fuel filler I first painted a leak from the filler cap, but then I started to think about it and washed the part off. Now I'm wondering again if I should go back to the original version. By the way, you can see how easy it is to remove the wash from the paint surface using pure white spirit. I also treated additional elements, for example all boxes, with pigments. They would look weird without the right amount of dust. The front tire, of course, doesn't have a cut off as it is with those mounted on the vehicle. The cow skull comes from the Mantis miniature set. Originally there is a rat in its center, but I cut it off. I used acrylic paints for painting and at the end I added 2 drops of dark brown wash. It's a great addition and fits perfectly with my vehicle. Now the whole procedure is showing and we have a minute, so I would ask you if you consider joining to my Patron group to get access to extra materials that I only offer for my patrons. As you probably know, my patrons are a superb group that receives most of the content I publish on the internet. It's for them that I prepare reports on daily work, articles, ask for their opinion and show films earlier than on the official YouTube channel. In addition, there are a few other interesting perks of being patron, but you can see for yourself. I think you won't be disappointed and you will see what other projects I do apart from those shown on YouTube. Don't waste your chance and check which level will be okay for you. You can find the link in the description of this movie. I added a little amount of glue and then tied it with a piece of thin wire, which I wrapped around the headlights and threaded it through the eye holes. It looks great. Truly speaking, this is the pure example of personalization of the model because I'm sure there is no other identical. For me it's like the author's signature, after which everyone who deals with modeling will know from whose hand this model came out. And it's also a reflection of the style that the author presents on his models. If someone builds a lot and shows results in social media, you can recognize his work after some time without reading the description, just through such small elements. A bit of fumes at the end of exhaust pipe looks a bit too much, but for the needs of the model it's okay. Let's say that the car has little problems with the engine. From my previous models I had painted pieces of paper that I used to make loose tarps, covers and more. If you haven't watched my previous movies, I recommend you to watch the tutorial in the link above. In short, it's a paper towel soaked in water, paint and PVA glue. When it's dry, it's difficult to shape it, but after being lightly soaked with water, it fits perfectly on the model and can be shaped into various shapes. In order to harden it, it's enough to slightly moisten it with water and glue and leave it to dry. A piece of string from the car's air freshener is perfect for an imitation of thick rope. In this case I only made a wash, but you can also paint it as I did on the Tiger M. One of the last additions are empty metal shells from Master Model. Obviously this is a Browning kit, but I don't think anyone will recognize it when they are on the model. The difference in dimension is so small that it is imperceptible. Before I glued them to the model, I covered all the shells with a few drops of wash and let them dry. It's enough for them to look appropriate. I arranged them in a random way, although this randomness was controlled. That is, the shells found themselves in nooks rather than in the open surfaces, because they would naturally roll down there while driving. Pure physics, gravity and whatever. Everyone drives a car and knows how different things behave when we transport them without protection. Once they were in place, a drop of fixer would keep them glued permanently. I almost forgot to make the plug I mentioned in the previous episode. I knocked out a piece of plastic from RP Tools punch and die set and glued it in the right place. When painted and dusted with pigment, it looks like an engine component. And on the end, couple oil stains on the engine and drive shaft. Thank you for watching this episode, and I hope that someone will find it useful. If you like what I'm doing, subscribe to the channel, give me a like and write a comment. It would be great if you shared this material on your social media, because maybe your friends don't know about my channel. You will do something good for humanity, and especially for me. For now, remember to check out my Patron and join the club. In the next episode I'm going to build the base and make some figure or two. It will be something spectacular in some way, but I don't want to reveal the secret today. Stay tuned and look for some giveaways, which I will publish very soon. I have some books, models and extra parts for you. That's all for today. See you next time. Cheers!